Hello, students. This is Saxon Algebra 2, Lesson 35C, which is entitled Fractional Exponents. Wait a minute. Fractional exponents? What's going on here? Well, I'll tell you. Some brilliant mathematician came up with this idea of fractional exponents, and it makes it much easier to use the product rule for exponents. Remember the product rule, x to the m times x to the n equals x to the m plus n. Now, let's look at that. Okay, first of all, that's the definition. Square root of 2, the fractional exponent gets rid of the radical sign. So now you can have the square root of 2 equals 2 to the 1/2. That's your fractional exponent. It means the square root. And so now, instead of having 2 to the 3rd times the square root of 2 and the radical sign, we've got 2 to the 3rd times 2 to the 1/2. We have an m and we have an n. So we have an n, m plus n. So that's going to equal 2 to the 3 plus 1/2, which is going to equal 2 to the 7/2. How do you like them tomatoes? Now, not only the product rule, but of course the power rule is made easier if you don't have those radical signs to bother with. The power rule for exponents, x to the m to the n is x to the m times n. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so you've got the square root of 2 in parentheses raised to the 4th power versus 2 to the 1/2 raised to the 4th, which is going to give you 2 to the 4/2, which is going to give you 2 squared, which is going to give you 4. Isn't that lovely? So now we want to just review some of the other fractions that the book talks about. We know the square root of 2 is going to be 2 to the 1/2. So the cube root of 2 is 2 to the 1/3. And the 4th root of 2 is 2 to the 1/4. And with that under our belts, let's tackle the examples in this lesson. Example 3 is simplify 4 to the -1/2. Well, we know what to do with negative exponents. That's going to be 1 divided by 4 to the 1/2. And we know what that means. That means the square root of 4. So I'm going to put it in for you so that you get used to it. But you know the square root of 4 is 2. And especially when it's presented that way, it means the positive root. And so the answer to that is simply 1/2. Let's look at example 4. -27 to the -1/3. Okay, so how do we simplify that? First of all, this minus is not in parentheses, so it goes with the whole problem. So we put that minus there, and then we put the 1 divided by 27 to the 1/3. And then we know that's equal to -1 divided by the cube root of 27. And all of you know the cube root of 27 is 9. The cube root of 27 is 3. Sorry about that. So that is -1/3. Cube root of 27 is 3. The minus sign stays with the problem. The answer to example number 4 is 1/3. Number 5. 16 to the 3/2. Now, when we have to simplify something like this, we have 2 choices. Let's see what they are. We can do 16 cubed to the 1/2, because when we multiply 3 times 1/2, we're going to get 16 to the 3/2. Or we could do 16 to the 1/2 cubed. I like that one a lot more because I know what the square root of 16 is. It's 4. So this is the same as 4 cubed, which is 64. And last but not least, number 6 is full of minus signs. -8 to the -2/3. Now let's figure out what we're going to do with these 2/3. Let's just put that in a little box and work with the 8, because we can do 8 to the, well, let's go this way. The minus sign stays with the problem, and we're going to have 1 divided by 8 to the +2/3. So let's go over here and work with 8 to the 2/3, because we can do it 2 ways. That equals 8 squared to the 1/3, or it equals 8 to the 1/3 squared. Now, no matter which way you choose to do this, you're going to get the same answer. It's just that sometimes there are easier pathways to get to the right answer. And for me, I want this one, because I know that the cube root of 8 is 2. And so this is going to be 2 squared, and I know that's 4. So now I can take this information down here to the problem. I'm going to rewrite the problem. So I'll put another arrow there. It equals -1 divided by 8 to the 2/3, which equals -1/4. Because we figured out we used this way to find 1/4. So that's the lesson. I hope this helped you to master it. But before I sign off, let's just see if this gives you the same answer. This gives you 64 to the 1/3, or the cube root of 64, which is 4. 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64. Let's see, this one's a lot messier, 16 cubed. So I will leave that to you with your calculator to show that 16 cubed, and then you take the square root, is going to be equal to 64. Okay, I'll see you next time. Enjoy those practice problems.